So what's up, YouTube? What's up? If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And a big shout out to Mitch LaFleur. He actually inspired this video. He drops me a comment on one of my old videos, a property video. I think I'm going to put the link up here. And he said, look, I love this content and I need more of it. So if you're like him and you love this content, if you watch it till the end, then hit the subscribe button and share it to your network as well. So this video, I'm going to go through all the steps you need to take to buy property. This is more geared towards investment properties, not really residential properties where you're going to live in, but you can adopt the same sort of tactics and so on and so forth with some of the points I'm going to raise. And it's streamlined for beginners, right? So it's not, I'm not putting a bunch of jargon in here, you know, I'm not going to sound smart. Yeah, I'm going to simplify everything and give it to you guys raw and ready. Anyways, let's get started. Anyways, let's get started. So, in terms of the background to buying your property, before you even get to the main point, there's three main points you need to be careful about, or you need to be keen on and observant about. Would be, firstly, your credit, very important. Secondly, obviously your deposit, and thirdly, your salary. How are you going to prove that you have the you have the financial backing to buy this property? There's several ways around that. Obviously, you could be employed. If you are employed, then generally speaking, 3 months payslip would suffice. And also, lender would want to see that you've been in that role for at least around 6 months, because then that indicates stability. That indicates stability. So that's that. Now, onto the main point. So the first point, when it comes to buying your property, before you even get into the whole hunting process and whatnot, is to identify what your strategy is. There's a number of different strategies when it comes to property, but generally speaking, it's grouped under two categories. The first one would be cash flow, and the second one would be appreciation. So what are you playing for? Are you playing for cash flow, or are you playing for appreciation? Obviously, there's certain other areas that could influence this. You know, like you're looking to leave properties down to your kids, for example, or people that come after you, or maybe you're just looking to ball out whilst you're here, and then, you know, whatever comes after comes after. But that would determine what sort of strategy you choose, and then that would determine what your buying principles entail. So as a rule of thumb, generally speaking, the lower the property value, the higher the yield. And people would ask, look, like I said, I'm going to streamline this video because I could really make this video a 30-minute video, but I don't really want to lose you guys. So if you need more information, feel free to contact me. But back to what I'm saying. The lower the price of the property, the higher the yield. And the higher the price of the property, the lower the yield. That's just a rule of thumb. Me personally, at the moment, I'm playing for cash flow because I'm just building my portfolio at the moment. And then eventually I'm looking to add more quality sort of properties onto my portfolio. Additionally, your strategy will determine whether you do things like, you know, a single let, where, you know, it's secure because you're renting to one family, there's less headache, but then, you know, the cash flow isn't that great. But maybe if you were playing for appreciation, then you wouldn't really be overly fussed. You could do a BRRR, that's a buy, rehab, refinance, and then rent. So you add value to that property, pull your money out, and then put it on for rent. You know, again, that's a mixture of playing for cash flow and also forcing the appreciation. You could do the HMO, houses of multiple occupations. That's where you pretty much rent the houses by the rooms. So that's number one. That's the first thing you need to bear in mind when you want to buy a property. Oh yeah, by the way, guys, I'm going to have some crazy content over the next few weeks and months. I'm back in the property. I'm back in the market for a new property. Tongue twister right there. I'm starting to view properties again, probably in about 2 weeks. So for those of you that want to see, like, you know, firsthand what the whole process is like, I'll take you through the journey. I'll probably do a live on my business Instagram, which is JVceo. I'll probably keep you guys updated on my personal Snapchat, and most importantly, I'd probably record some content for my Sunday YouTube vlogs as well. So, point number 2, when it comes to investing in property, is arranging your deal. Right, this is so important. This can make or break your deal. And when I say arrange your deal, I'm talking about, do you want to do an interest-only mortgage? do you want to do a repayment mortgage? You know, that would make a huge difference to your numbers. But most importantly, it's also, you know, arranging the best interest rate, which kind of links up to the background point that I gave at the start of this video, talking about credit. This is where your credit comes into play. Literally, having good credit is the difference between getting a 5-6% interest rate on your mortgage versus, let's say, a 3.5%. And on a property that costs the same amount, like, that can make a difference of a few good £100 a month. Now, and if you calculate that over 25, 30 years, and you see that, you know, you're losing a lot of money just for having bad credit. So again, you know, if you're on this video and you got poor credit, get in touch. My email is info@JVceo.com. I do the credit masterclass for £99, but forget that. We're talking properties. So in here as well, you want to look out for, you know, all the clauses as well, like early termination, you know, if you're intending on paying off your mortgage early. Usually, generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, some lenders would give you a clause to overpay by a certain amount, because if you don't have that clause, then potentially you would get hit whenever you try and overpay your mortgage. It's almost like you get penalized for trying to pay it off early. Obviously, on the flip side, if you do succeed in paying it off early, then you know, you save on the interest. But anyways, so check out for that. It's very important. Some of mine would have like a 5% clause. So that means if my mortgage is, say, £100,000 every year, I could pay an additional £5,000 towards, you know, paying off my mortgage early. In here as well, you want to bear in mind things like, you know, fixed term, variables. These are where you got to start understanding certain terminologies. So a fixed term mortgage, essentially speaking, is where you get the mortgage set over a specific time at a specific price. That doesn't change, and it gives you stability. If you're new to the market, if you don't know what the interest rates are going to be like in the near future, then I'd recommend that. I always start off with a fixed interest and then I reconsider it again after like 3 years or 5 years. Variable is where your mortgage payment is tracked at, you know, the interest rates, essentially speaking. That's a bit more risky. But if the interests are low, then, you know, you benefit from it. That's the advantage of it. And finally, another point you want to have in mind within this section is, within arranging your mortgage, is finding, you know, your lender. Who's going to lend to you? Are you going to go to Barclays? Are you going to go to Halifax? Or are you going to go to a broker who, essentially speaking, has a number of different lenders and can offer you better deals, essentially speaking? So an example being, if you wanted to get a mobile phone contract, would you go to EE directly, or would you go to Vodafone directly, or would you go to a comparison website where, generally speaking, the deals are cheaper than going directly to the network? The same thing applies to mortgages. So that's that. And now on to number 3. If you're enjoying this video so far, then make sure you subscribe, drop me a like, drop me a comment. What video do you want to see next? Put it in the comment section, and as you can see, I probably will do that video next or next or next or next. And another shameless plug, if you are enjoying this video and you're serious about getting into property investment, then you'd probably benefit from my property masterclass. Drop me an email at info@jsnow.com, and I do a bunch of that as well. If you are watching this video and you just don't, you know about property, but you don't know that well, but you just want to get started and source your first property, again, drop me an email and I'm able to help you through with that process, because I do source properties as well. Right, on to point number 6. I'm just kidding. Number 3, the fun part. This is about buying your deal, right? What should you bear in mind when you're buying your deal? So, first things first, you need to learn how to write strong offers, man. Honestly, that can make or break your deal. Like, literally, if you're competing on a property with someone else, like, what could literally make the deal is how strong your offer is. So you need to learn how to write strong offers. Moving on from that, if you're looking to go into investing long term, it's so important to start building relationships with estate agents, because honestly, that can help you massively. Firstly, you know, they push your application forward quicker. That's number 1. That's if you're going through the estate agent, let's say, to close the deal. But even if you're only just buying through the estate agent, they can push the landlord in a certain direction, believe it or not. So an example being, a property might be priced for £70,000, and if you've got a good relationship with the estate agent and you've made an offer for 65, they might just say to the landlord, look, I think this is a great offer, and I think you should accept it, because generally speaking, we've not had a lot of viewing on this property. So that's the advantage of being in the good books of these estate agents. Another reason would be, you sometimes get the deals before they even hit the market. So that puts you on the front foot, and that way, you can get the ball rolling on your end a lot quicker. Now, in terms of more the practical buying process, there's a bunch of things. I might not even cover everything in this one single video, but you want to do the basics of obviously full inspection of the house, looking at the roof, looking at any cracks in the wall, just making sure that it's not structural, just anything that would cost you a lot of money, you want to start looking at. And please don't come here looking at this place as though you're going to live in it. It's an investment property, so throw that out of the window and just look at it. Just scan the property and just see the frame, the skeleton, if you may. Don't worry about the carpets, if they're old and if they're from 1990s. That wouldn't really make much of a difference to your life. Don't worry about the little things like the odd paint jobs here and there. That wouldn't make much difference to your life. If anything, you could use those to your advantage when you're putting an offer, because you could put in a lower offer for, let's say, 10%. On the basis of all these little things that is probably not going to cost you 2-3 grand to get sorted anyways. So that's that. I have an extensive checklist. I'm probably going to share this in a future video, but now you want to start looking at, all the other properties on that street. You want to start looking at like their front garden. You want to speak to some neighbors, that sort of stuff. You want to check out the area, see what parks are around the area, how close it is to landmarks, shopping centers. That would all make a difference, and that would all help you make a decision when it comes to actually buying that property. And now to a very, very important part, still within this point of buying the deal, like buying your property. You need to be very careful of what I call gazumping. Gazumping basically is a process whereby someone puts in a higher offer than you, and you lose out you lose out your spot on that property, except you counter offer and put in an even higher offer. And gazumping can cost you dearly, and I've learnt the hard way. An example being, you might have started everything already, paid for your survey and so on and so forth, and then the way gazumping works basically is someone can, technically speaking, put in an offer before the closing date and it would still get accepted. You might have paid 2 grand to get to that position already and you lose all your money. So to avoid gazumping, you've got to do a number of things. You have to make sure that you're straight on your end, like straight. You can go immediately so that the delays are not from you. And then remember, these people work for you. The broker works for you. The conveyancing solicitor works for you. You've got to put the pressure on them. You've got to instruct your solicitor immediately. You've got to get the ball rolling. Give them a call 10 times a day if you have to do that. And that's how you avoid gazumping. And most importantly, remember what I talked about in terms of being in a good books of, estate agents as well. And if you build the trust, if you're a regular, for example, they know, oh, the deal's going to go through, no problems. They're less likely to entertain any new offers on the property anyways. Although legally they have to report it to the landlord or the owner of the property, but they might just choose not to take any new offers on it because maybe they're unavailable, so that's where building a relationship can take you far as well. And now on to the final point. And if you haven't subscribed and you're still watching this, get off my video. I'm just kidding. Honestly though, subscribe, like, comment and share it, because if you're watching up until this point, then clearly you found value. Now let's keep going. So now this is the final point. You bought your house, you've done all the hard work, they've handed you over the keys and you're a happy man, right? How are you going to, number 4, manage your investment? For most of you watching this video, you're probably from London, and a lot of us are all priced out of London, so we're probably heading over to other cities to buy properties. And are you going to keep traveling back and forth from London? It's not worth it, So the best thing to do when you still have a relatively small portfolio, I think anything under 50 is a small portfolio. When you still have a relatively small portfolio, the best thing to do is to just find a management company, pay them a 10% fee, or if you can negotiate less, then fantastic. Pay them a fee and just have them manage the property. That's the best thing to do. So that's that. They deal with all the, renting of the property. They deal with all the little maintenance stuff and so on and so forth. And it gives you a sense of relief as well, and it lets you concentrate on buying more properties rather than managing one single property. Remember, the game is to keep multiplying, not to get stuck on one property and you know, be to micromanage one property. It's not really worth it. So you've got to spread your wings and fly. Now on to the next thing within this section is when you're looking at estate agents, just make sure, you know, that they're fully qualified. Like, believe it or not, they're managing companies out there that don't have their full qualifications. So now you want to check, let's say, the property ombudsman to make sure that they're registered with like some sort of a redress scheme. You want to check database of accredited members and so on and so forth, just so you know that your investment is safe. You've done all the hard work. You don't want to lose it at the end now by giving your property to a very poor management company. Another thing you want to consider is whether you want to take out rent insurance. It can give you peace of mind. You know, if you're very new to the whole property game, maybe it's not a bad idea if you can add that into your numbers. And that way you have peace of mind and knowing fully well that, you know, even if the tenant was to default on the rent, you've still got it coming in. You can still satisfy your debt. And then finally, if you choose to manage a property yourself, this is my rule of thumb. Because I've worked at a senior management level before. So when it comes to renting a property out, I approach it like an interview. I vet my tenants like I'm vetting someone to employ them, because it's the same thing. In fact, it's more important. If I'm employing someone for a business that I work for, I'm employing them for the business that I work for. This one, I'm employing the person to live in my house for my own business. So I've got to take that process a lot more seriously. If I may say that. So I've got to take that process a lot more seriously. So that's my approach. And in here as well, keep an eye on certain things. And this is why I say, you know, just give it to a management company. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you can get really stung in this area. For example, you know, you have to make sure that the deposit is protected. You know, you have to give them the how to rent booklet, gas certificates, and so on and so forth. There's so many more things that you have to do if you want to self-manage. And if that's not your forte, you might end up losing a lot of money. Because let's say you want to get that tenant out of the house, you would struggle. They would beat you at that section 21 and you would lose a lot of money going through the court system trying to get them out because you've made errors on your part. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. I appreciate you guys supporting. Keep sharing it. And I think YouTube is going to be big for me this year, man. So yeah, next Sunday at 6 p.m, I'll be back with some good content. Great content. Till then.